Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the Akim that teaching this word. Shalom Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. So this article here is off the BBC and it says, St. Albans Cathedral, Black Jesus is a bold statement. Alright, because as you can see here in St. Albans Cathedral, they've put an image, the Last Supper image, and as you can see here, they've put the Lord as a so-called black man, all right? So and they say they're doing this for so-called BLM, but it's become basically they've putting up a image of the Lord as a so-called black man, which is spreading, a conversation throughout the land and throughout the world, because people are thinking, hold on, why are they doing this? Because because of all these Edomite statues that have been going down recently, people have even said, look, you've got to take the image of a white Christ down as well, because that symbolizes, white superiority or brainwashing of the people pretty much. That's what them articles have been coming out recently as well, which it basically is to enforce the rule of Edomites on the planet, because so-called white people are really Edomites, but they put themselves up as the image of the Lord. But the real image is that he's a so-called black man. That's the truth. So now in the cathedral in St. Albans, they've actually put an image of a so-called black man as the Lord, man. So this truth is really the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai that's consuming the earth, all right? But look, they put an image up of a so-called Negro as the Lord, all right? So this is causing controversy around the world. Like, why? Hold on, you're putting up an image of a black man as Christ. Like, this is fucking up Esau's look on the planet, because Esau's going down, man. All right, their time is coming to its end. So they're showing you St. Albans Cathedral straight up put an image of a black man as the Lord. This is hurting people, man, because but that's the truth. That's what the Bible says he looks like. So let's read this. St. Albans Cathedral, Black Jesus is a bold statement, which we're not black, all right? We're so-called blacks and Hispanics and Native American peoples bloodline are the Israelites, all right? But we are different shades of brown, all right? We range from a lighter shade hue to a more of a darker shade, but we're not black. No one's black, all right? And no one's white. We all come from different nations, all right? Everyone on the planet goes back to a man in the Bible. We're all from different nations, all right? So-called blacks and Hispanics and Native American peoples are the children of Israel, according to the Bible. So let's have this here. Let's read this. A picture of the Last Supper showing a black Jesus has been installed in a cathedral in what campaigners described as a bold statement. The print by Lorna May Wadsworth has been placed at the altar of the persecuted in the north transept of St. Albans Cathedral. The church said it was in support of Black Lives Matter BLM movement. The original artwork, painted in 2010, has previously been shot while on display at a church in Gloucestershire. St. Albans for BLM said the cathedral's move had brought about a countrywide conversation. Yeah, because Edomites are like, obviously thinking, why are you putting up an image of a black Christ, man? Because as far as the world is concerned, the Lord, the Messiah, is a white man, all right? An Edomite looking man with long so-called white people's hair and all this. But that's not true. The look of a so-called white man. But that's not true when you read the Bible. It tells you what the Lord looks like. It tells you what his people looks like. All right? And really Edomites don't even believe in God, all right? But what it is that if there is a God, he's got to look like us. That's why the wicked elites, they did something called iconoclasm, man, which they basically, when they came back into power, they whitewashed the images of the dark peoples in Europe, which were the so-called Negroes that was ruling in Europe. They whitewashed all of that, man. All right? But now all of that's been undone because truth's coming out. But I'm going to keep reading this here. The original artwork, painted in 2010, had been previously shot while on display at a church in Gloucester. St. Albans for BLM said the cathedral's move had brought about a countrywide conversation. The artist used a Jamaican-born model for the basis of her interpretation of Leonardo da Vinci's 15th century artwork. All right? And it's funny that they use, and so-called Jamaican peoples in the West Indies, all right, are the tribe of Benjamin, according to the Bible. They were here in Europe at some point, you see, in the Middle Ages. But it's funny, it said the 15th century, because what was going on in the 15th century? There was something called the Renaissance, man. And Renaissance was pretty much the rebirth, which that's what it means, of Esau, Edom, or or what you know today as so-called white people getting the earth back. So it's funny, it said the art of the 15th century. So what did they do? They changed the art from the previous years, the Middle Ages, and put their image up. Because when you go into the history of Europe, Jacob was there, so-called Negroes, all right, so-called African Americans, Haitians, and so-called West Indians, which are the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, were in the land of Europe, ruling, all right? And we had our image up. We had our images of Elijah, Apostle Paul, Peter, all in the walls in Russia and the cathedrals, and they're still there today. There was thousands and thousands of drawings, man. You can look this up. It's called icons, all right? Russian icons. You can look that up. You can check it out yourself, man. Russian icons, all right? In Greece, in Turkey. But Esau has hidden this history. But but the people that know, right? The elites know, and the ones of our people that are supposed to know, the hopeful elect, we know, man. All right, Lord willing, we have that number. So we keep reading this here. Leonardo da Vinci's 15th century artwork. And she said she wanted to make people question the Western myth that Jesus had fair hair and blue eyes. All right. The cathedral said the 8 foot, 8 inch high, 2.6 meter picture was part of a prayer installation to mark its reopening and called on people to look with fresh eyes at something you think you know. So they got it here. So what color was Jesus? Question mark. Black Jesus painting shot in Cotswold Church. Why do we think Christ was white? All right. Well, they kind of threw that out there to you. It said 15th century art. So you got to know what was going on at that time in history. It was called the Renaissance period, which was the rebirth of Esau, Edom, the so-called white people coming back into that rulership seat. So they had to re-educate the earth, all right? Reteach pretty much they came back into power. There's a saying, whoever wins the war basically rewrites history. And that's what Esau did. He rewrote history. He told lies, all right? He covered up the truth and put his image up as Christ, the angels, and that's why and conquered the planet and made everyone believe that. You see? So the reason why everyone believes in a so-called white man being the Lord is because everyone on the planet, particularly our people, the Israelites, have been conquered, and you've been forced to worship that image. That's why you can't get it out of your head. But the truth is, the Lord never looked like that. The man that's going to return doesn't look like that. All right? So it says, in a statement, the cathedral said, "We stand with the Black Lives Matter movement to be allies for change, building a strong, just and fair community where the dignity of every human being is honored and celebrated, where black voices are heard, and where Black Lives Matter," which that's all bullshit anyway, because we're not black. All right? And fuck the Black Lives Matter movement. That's going to be destroyed with this world too, man. There's no such thing as black, all right? And the so-called Black Lives Matter movement, all right, was set up by George Soros, man. It's funded by the elites. So-called Jews funded that, man. They control that. See, the so-called black man in America is not black, all right? He's the tribe of Judah. He's the real Jew according to the Bible, which is the same tribe that our Lord came from, all right? So let me just keep reading. I'll just skip through it here. It says, the St. Albans, it says here, this is the Da Vinci mural painting, shows the scene of the Last Supper as narrated in the Gospel of John, all right? And this, everyone knows this image, the Last Supper image, yeah? And that image is the paintings of the Borgia family. You see, that whole Last Supper image that they have is the paintings of the Borgia family. All right. That's what that is. All right. Look them up. They painted themselves up through Leonardo da Vinci, painted them. They put their murals up saying that when you conquer people, you have to put your image up as the image of the ruler, pretty much. You see, because symbology has power. If you put your image up as the image of God and everyone believes that, and you start believing that over the years, what's going to happen is there's a power in that. You've already got people's brains. Without people having to think, they're looking at you thinking that you're God. You see? So Esau knew that when he came back into power, that's what he had to do in order to keep our people suppressed from the truth. But now the Lord's destroying all of that, man. All right? So it says, I mean, that's the point. Pretty much, they put a so-called black man as the Messiah. All right, that's the point. You can check this out on BBC. They put a so-called Negro, all right, as in St. Albans Cathedral as the Messiah. You see, which is pretty much I mean, the scriptures tell you Yahushua looked like, I'm going to read it in a minute, what he looked like, but he was pretty much a dark-skinned man, a man of dark flesh. You'd call today, if he was on the earth, he'd be called a so-called Negro, right? Or other derogatory terms that they call the Israelites. But he's a man from the tribe of Judah, and yes, he was dark-skinned. Yes, he was. All right? So I'm going to read this here. Got just a quick one here. Revelation 1:14. Okay? It says, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt above the paps, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool. All right? The Son of Man is the Lord. All right? He said his head and his hairs were white like wool. And who has the woolly hair on the planet? That royal hair, sheep's wool hair. So-called black people, man. You know, hair like a sheep, the woolly hair. All right? And it says, like, come on, that can only be describing a so-called black man. No other people have that kind of texture hair on the planet. All right? So it says his head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow. So he had grey hair. And his eyes was a flame of fire. He had white hair, man. And his eyes was a flame of fire. And this is the point here. And his feet, well, that alone, the first 14 smashes the image of the Lord portrayed today as a so-called white man. Because the image that we see today, he don't have woolly hair, man. He's got, you know, long so-called white people's hair. He ain't got woolly hair like an afro. All right? And it says, and his feet like unto fine brass as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. And that's the point right there. His feet like unto fine brass as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. So he had dark skin, all right? It says the feet like it was burned in a furnace, man. All right? Like when you have brass, you know what brass looks like. It's the color of like a 2p coin, a 1p coin. But it goes further to tell you that it was burnt in a furnace, man. So he was when you burn something, it becomes really dark. So he was a so-called black man, all right? A dark-skinned man, all right? And I'm going to read this here. And the elites of this society know that, all right? That Yahushua was a man of color, man. He was a so-called Negro. They know that. John 14:6, all right? It says, John 14:6, it says, Yahushua saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father, but by me. So the Lord is the way, the truth, and the life. So you got to know what he looks like. You got to know what he came on the earth to do, who he came for. You can't just say you believe in the Lord. You got to know who he is, man. Because when people in this world say that they believe in the Lord, they're believing in that other image. They're believing in the so-called white man being the Lord, all right? They're not believing in Yahushua. All right? So that's why that us saying that the Lord is a so-called black man, and, you know, they're putting it all over the world now pretty much. They're saying, look, Jesus weren't white. That's a big thing on the planet right now. Because he weren't. So the Lord's really bringing this place down, man. And that's frying people's brains, all right? That's scrambling people's brains. How can you say Jesus weren't white? No, of course he's white. We've been saying he's white for hundreds of years. Of course he is so-called white, but he's not. So the earth people are getting their brains scrambled right now, man. See? And only a select few truly believe on Yahushua, what he looks like, man. Because you tell most people on the earth the Lord's a so-called black man. No, it's not true. And all that. And some people know it's true, but they don't want to acknowledge it because they know if he's a so-called black man, all right, and he returns, and we've been treating these so-called black people like shit all these years, what's going to happen to us? You know, that's these other nations, man. They're in denial, but the Lord's bringing this place apart, man. He's bringing it down, man. So it says, if you had known me, but you got to know the Lord in truth, who he is, what he looks like, all right? Who he came for, what's his name, right? If you had known me, you should have known my Father also, and from henceforth ye know him and have seen him. Philip saith unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. Yahushua saith unto him, have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that have seen me have seen the Father, and how sayest thou then, show us the Father? You see? So he said to his disciple, man, he said to the apostle, he said to the apostle Philip, he said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So he just described what the Lord looked like, that he was a so-called Negro. But he said, he went on further to say, look, if you've seen me, you've seen the Most High, man. The Most High is a man of color. Like the Lord's a so-called Negro. He said, you're looking at me, the image I look like is what the Heavenly Father looks like. So that totally dispels what the world pushes. You see, but what's going on now is the elite of Esau, their lies are all unfolding before them. It's all the veils being lifted off of people, man. The truth's coming out. All right? This society is going down. This is the end of an age, man. The end of the age of Esau, man. And yes, a dark-skinned man is going to return, which is an Israelite, Yahushua. He's going to return to set up his throne on the earth, man. That's what's coming for him and his people. You know, and the other nations, you're going to go in slavery under us, man. That's just what it is. All right? You know, so with that, I'm just going to say, you know, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the Akim that are teaching this word. Shalom Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Shalom. Shalom.